Stop talking about comic books or I'll kill you. I don't care if the Hulk could defeat the Man of Steel.
Ever heard of the Merry Marching Marvelites?
I would say I haven't heard about those.
Back in the day, Marvel had a fan club, and they were called the Merry Marching Marvelites. And so today I want to start our show by saying, hello, Merry Marvelites! Welcome to the Fortress of Popitude. How you doing, Super Dave?
I am doing pretty good. We're working on our studio right now, the Fortress of Popitude in the studio. So we were trying to get stuff sound a little better. We've been hearing from our subscribers that our audio and microphone stuff wasn't working that great. And we want to be your number one source for all your comic book pop culture needs. So we want to be the best at what we do, but doing it very feasible. So
yeah, absolutely. You've been doing a great job, Super Dave. I really appreciate all the work that you put in. Super Dave's the technical side of things, just to be honest.
And he's the writer part,
I do a lot of the writing and stuff, but together we're a team, and hey, the Fortress can go through renovations.
That is true.
Come on. So I am your host, Bullseye Bob, and sitting next to me is
Super Dave!
And we are your hosts for the Fortress of Popitude, and we are on issue number 3.
Can you imagine issue number 3 already?
Issue number 3. That's like a story arc right there. We got our first story arc.
Yes.
How you been, Super Dave?
I've been doing great. Here in Portland, Oregon, we've had sort of like a snow ice apocalypse going on.
Yes, we have.
But really, if you really look out there, see, I lived most of my years growing up was in Baker City and Cottage Grove. Cottage Grove, they didn't really get that much snow, but Baker City, if it wasn't 5 feet of snow in town, school didn't shut down.
Right.
And I love our Oregonians, but we sometimes don't know how to drive, and we go straight bat crazy on the road. But, I haven't seen the snow that I really want to see yet, where, there's multiple days kicking it, having to be a manly man and drive my wife to work in my 4x4, But, hey, it's all good, but that's what I've been doing. How are you doing, Bob?
I'm doing awesome. Also for me, we didn't get the snow that I wanted. In my area, we got a dusting. I think I ended up having one snow day, which I love because I can work from home. But I wanted that massive, 12 to 14 inches of snow that, you don't go back to work for 4 or 5 days. You're kicking it and just, working from home in your pajamas. That's my dream.
Hey, sometimes you have to wear your underoos and work,
Come on. But at the same time, the thing I love about working from home is I can throw a little comic book movie on, and while I'm taking calls and doing my emails and stuff like that, and you can't do that at work.
Oh, I know. When I work from home, it's pretty much, my Sunday night shows, which is, what is it? Supergirl, Walking Dead, a couple other ones, but hey, especially Walking Dead. That was what I was watching when you came in, and I had it in the background, and I ain't gonna spoiler, but it's a good episode. I think the new character they have as the villain, I think they actually elevated it up, and
Really? Yeah, that's something I'm gonna have to get back into, Super Dave. I've watched The Walking Dead from the very beginning, and I kind of stopped at the episode where Rick Grimes left. I thought, maybe this is a good stepping off point, but maybe I stepped off too soon.
Well, they did a really good job at this new bad character.
Sweet.
So,
well, I'll have to check that out. Well, I mean, that's what we do here. We talk about new things, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so, having said that, that's a good segue for us to go ahead and hop into the news.
The news.
You like the way I said that? That's why Kevin Smith says it. The news.
I like that a lot.
It's good stuff. So, yes, ladies and gentlemen, we do have a lot of news that has dropped since the last issue of Fortress of Popitude. And so, we're going to get into it because we got lots to cover today.
Yes, we do.
So, the first one, I'm going to put on my super glasses here. The first one is we had some Hulu news that dropped.
Yeah, that was very, very, I want to say, surprising almost. Because, Hulu has been that, I want to say, the person that can't afford Comcast or Charter or wherever you guys are at Warner Telecommunications, has been that show where people can still watch like Gotham, but I hear that you have to pay to watch Supergirl and the Arrow and the Flash. I mean, but it's kind of interesting that there's been a lot of news where Hulu's trying to step up their game because Netflix is, well, they're starting to drop their ball a little bit.
Absolutely. So let me kind of break this down a little bit. One of the things that we know about the Disney-Fox merger is that with the merger, Disney will own about 40% of Hulu going forward.
Yeah.
And we know that Disney is also going to have their own streaming service called Disney Plus. And that affords them to do a few things. And this news that dropped, listen to this, guys. We are getting 4 Marvel series. And it's unclear if they're all going to be animated or some are going to be like maybe computer animated. They haven't really talked about that much. But we're getting a Howard the Duck show. Then we're getting a Dazzler and Tigra show. Mm-hmm. Then there's Hit Monkey.
Yeah.
And then we're getting MODOK. I mean,
the flying trash can is what I used to call it.
You call it the flying trash can. I mean, I've always had a love for MODOK. I thought he was one of the most. To me, he was Humpty Dumpty in a flying chair. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I thought he was awesome. I do
like, too. I've always loved him.
My first experience watching him was like, oh, dude, they got themselves a flying trash can.
But I mean, Super Dave, what? I said this last show, what dimension do we live in that we're getting this type of content now? I mean, it's one thing to have Batman and Superman and Spider-Man on the big screen, but we're getting MODOK.
We're getting MODOK, but you really think about... So here's my 2 cents about millennials. Mm-hmm. Some millennials need to go out there and get a job. If you listen to, there's a radio station here popular in Portland.
Listen to this, millennials.
And I watch it, and this guy has like 20 degrees, and his parents told him, I says, I'm not paying for any more degrees. And the guys, I have to say I have a lot of respect for these 2 radio DJs because one takes care of his brother that's mentally disabled. Which I have mad respect for doing that because it's something I do for a career. Mm-hmm. And the other one is son that had a drug issue.
Right.
And his son, I earned respect for this guy. This guy can be a little bit crude sometimes. Mm-hmm. But he talked to, this lady called in around Christmas time, and she had a drug problem. And he literally stopped the whole radio station, no radio, for like 30 minutes and talked this lady down.
Wow.
I mean, if there was an award for radio station disc jockeys for 2018, Terry Boyd would have to get it.
Wow.
But now that's my 2 cents. I'm not trying to promote their show, but I do listen to them in the morning because they're funny. But sometimes they have some actual really caring moments, and that's very end. But he's talking about this dude that considers him them and all these degrees and stuff like that. I think sometimes millennials get a bad rap.
They do.
I got a lot of friends that are millennials, and there's a lot of creativity that comes out of the millennial generation.
Sure is.
And you really think about, with our directors that are out there, and they're intertwining themselves with millennials, and the creativity that they spring forth, like for Full Sail Ale or any of these digital learning schools that are offering 4-year degrees. That's one of the reasons I believe that we're getting a lot of creativity out in the theater, in TV shows, in our comic books. I mean, I was at the comic book store, and I have to admit, the snowstorm, and work and all that stuff. I had a stack. I mean, I'll talk more about that later in our show, what I'm reading right now. But I had a stack.
A stack just waiting there for you to buy.
And I walked in there, and I'm like, I'm so sorry, dude. The dude's really cool, so I have to say that, I'm like, sorry, dude, but look at that. What I'm trying to say is the creativity.
Absolutely.
And I'm looking at some of these shows, on our telescreen is, you got Howard the Duck. So Howard the Duck, if you really look at that, it showed a little bit of what was going on in Marvel. Which one was it?
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Guardians of the Galaxy. There's Howard the Duck talking to some chicks. And I have to say something. My parents let me watch Howard the Duck part of it in the 90s.
Back in the 80s?
In
Yeah.
80s, 90s. Whenever it came out, I watched it in the 90s, of course. And we're watching like 10 minutes into it. And all of a sudden, Howard says something so foul on there. And my dad just said,
Clicked
nope,
it right off.
you're not going to watch this. Go to bed.
Yeah.
And then 5 minutes later, I hear the show on in the background. I'm like, and I asked him years later, so why didn't you let me watch Howard the Duck? And he says, well, there was a lot of like adult type situations in that movie.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that they change it up just a little bit, but keep that quirkiness into it.
Guess what, Super Dave?
What's that?
I don't think that's going to happen.
Really?
'Cause guess who's writing Howard the Duck?
Oh, who is it?
Kevin Smith.
Okay,
And so,
then we definitely gonna have a not a PG-13 show for your average kids. So parents out there watching it, I'm recommending if you're a responsible adult that don't deal with issues.
But here's the thing about that, and this is why I think this is a good move. I mean, here you have this announcement that we're getting these 4 Marvel shows, which dropped. I mean, out of the blue. There was nothing in announcements that this was even in development. It just dropped, and I was shocked. I was like, oh my gosh, we're getting this content that I never thought was possible. But here we have Disney, who has their own streaming service. We know that they're going to have the Marvel shows like Loki and Vision and the Scarlet Witch and Winter Soldier and Falcon, and they have some others that are announced. But those are going to be on the Streaming Plus service. But here you have Hulu, who Disney is going to be a majority owner of.
Exactly.
And they're taking shows that they probably couldn't show to kids on the Disney Plus channel, and they're already showing themselves to, put content on another service where they can be a little more adult.
Yeah. And I think that's awesome. So.
I think it's a great move. I mean, it opens the door for so much, and here's why I think it's even more awesome. Because let me tell you who this guy was. I don't know if I wrote his name down. But the president, who's in charge of Hulu Originals, said that they're open to actually picking up the canceled Marvel Netflix shows like Daredevil, Luke Cage, and Iron Fist. I mean, doesn't mean that they're going over there, but it says that they're open to it.
Yeah,
that tickled my fancy.
And I'm excited about that. We look, there's a bunch of like Hulu Originals on Hulu that me and my wife have, wanted to watch. But, I mean, it might be worth getting Hulu for that. I mean, but I did hear in the news that there's like a 3-year waiting period with those shows too, Daredevil, Luke Cage.
2 year. It's a 2-year cooling off period. And, I mean, if you really look at it, I mean, some of those shows have been canceled within the last 6 months. So we're only a year and a half away in the cooling off period.
But those could be going on the Disney Network too, right? I mean, like maybe not, because Daredevil's kind of like got some, what.
It kind of reminds me of Marvel's. I can't remember the name of the titles. It wasn't Marvel Edge or Marvel Dark or anything like that. It was Max. I think it was the Max title line. But they had comic books that were more adult, and that's kind of what the Netflix universe felt like. Was that Marvel Max imprint. And I mean, even the Marvel Knights was a little darker than their normal stuff. But here's the thing. I mean, if they're open to putting them on there, and they have a platform with which they can, guess what? There was news about that as well, because recently, our next piece of news, we can just segue right into it. Yeah. It's official. Netflix has canceled all of the Marvel shows now. They just canceled both Punisher, and they didn't wait for Jessica Jones to come out. They have now canceled Jessica Jones as well.
That's a bunch of crap.
It is. It really is.
Jessica... I'm hating on Jessica Jones, but maybe that series, but, I mean, put her in Defenders, because she's not, like, the main character, and everybody else outshines her. But I wasn't a big fan of Jessica Jones, if you can tell. But
we know that there are people out there who really love that character, who really love that show.
Really connect with her.
Yeah, I mean, that wasn't my bag of tea. You know me, I'm a full-on Daredevil fan. Yeah. But... we had Defenders. And so, but now, officially, Netflix has canceled those shows. And look, I mean, really, if you look at this, the writing was on the wall with this. Disney had announced, long ago that they were going to be pulling, their content, like the Marvel movies and the Disney shows, that they were going to be pulling those from Netflix because they're going to be putting them on their own service. And now they're going to be a majority owner in Hulu. And so now Disney's a direct competitor. It doesn't surprise me that these shows were canceled. But here's the deal, and this is what I love. The other piece of news is Jeff Loeb, who is in charge of Marvel TV. Mm-hmm. He had this quote, and I love this because, of course, it does quote something from Daredevil. But he said, our network partner may have decided that they no longer want to continue telling the tales of these great characters, but you know Marvel better than that. I love it. As Matthew Murdock's dad once said, the measure of a man is not how he gets knocked down to the mat. It's how he gets back up. To be continued. ... Yeah, buddy. I mean, we have the possibility of the Marvel Netflix shows coming back, and I mean, how they come back, we don't know if they'll come back the same. But what Jeff Loeb is saying is, look, this story's not over, guys. You know us better than that. Mm-hmm. And if I got something officially from Jeff Loeb, I'm in. I'm cool.
There's also, the I watch all the dirt sheets and stuff like that when it comes to like Daredevil, and they were doing an interview with the character of Daredevil, mm-hmm. and he said, "I hear you guys signed a petition, and thousands of people signed up for my show, and I did too, because it was a great story.
It was amazing. It really
but there is, Netflix has. I'm not seeing this in my notes, and I'm ahead of myself. You can knock me out, but Netflix had a really good series. They just come out.
Super Dave, that is one of our later pieces of news.
I'm show busting right now, but
we will get there.
I will have to say that I like the TV show.
I'm telling you, I'm chomping at the bit because I want to get there. I'm so excited to talk about that. So, but just to tie up these two pieces of news, definitely we have these 4 new shows that Hulu has picked up. That are going to be Marvel. They're going to be more adult. They're animated. We know Kevin Smith is attached to the Howard the Duck show. From what I understand, Oswald Patton is connected to the MODOK show, which just that just makes my day right there because he loves MODOK. He knows the content. I think he'll do great. I don't know who's connected to Hit Monkey. Sorry, I don't know Hit Monkey that, but do you know Hit Monkey?
I don't either, man.
And so that's one that I'm going to have to explore. And then I know Dazzler and Tigra. Dazzler is a mutant from the X-Men days, and her power is being able to turn sound into light. And so she's a performer. That makes her performances great, but she also uses it in a superhero way. And Tigra, was the scantily clad tiger striped woman in the West Coast Avengers for years. And so to put those two together, I don't know how that'll work. No, but I'm interested.
Hey, let's see what they're gonna do.
Exactly. So it'll be kind of cool. And then we have the possibility of our beloved shows on Netflix coming back because we do have Jeff Loeb who has confirmed that. So moving on. So at this particular point, Super Dave, we'd like to go ahead and have our listeners, we wanted to give a shout out to our sponsors. And the first one, Super Dave, is who?
The Nerd Out. Tell us more about that, Bob.
Nerd Out. The Nerd Out is pretty awesome. Our buddy Mitch is the owner, and it is a place where people from our tribe can go and hang out. It is at 3308 Southeast Belmont Street in Portland, Oregon. The Nerd Out is pretty awesome. They have great food, nouveau food. They have an amazing atmosphere. The walls are wallpapered with old comic book pages. They have action figures everywhere. They have space-age drinks, and then they put on events for people like us. There's a cosplay night. They have trivia nights. Mm-hmm. They also have artists that come in and draw while people are there. But the really cool thing is the atmosphere. It's a place to go hang out. And Mitch is so cool. Go in, say hi to him, tell him that you heard about the podcast. And but Fortress, tell him about the Fortress of Papitude, but the Nerd Out. Not a place to go talk about politics, but a place to go talk about everything that you geek out on.
The Nerd Out. 3308 Southeast Belmont, Portland, Oregon, 503-223-1225. For more information about their business, go to www.thenerdoutpdx.com.
Say hi to Mitch. And then our next sponsor, a really good friend of ours, you were talking about him earlier, and that is the Comics Adventure. Dave, tell us about Comics Adventure.
You know, I love the comic book adventure. I think the guy there is amazing. And I just have to say, you go in there, even in their new location, it's like the comic book store that you can get lost in.
Absolutely.
I mean, I brought my buddy Andy. We talk about Andy every once in a while on the show. He's a big Punisher fan, Daredevil fan. That's the kind of stuff he likes. But I took him in there today. And I'm getting my stuff done. I'm looking for Thanos' gauntlet because I was going to buy it today. And I get in there and I go look around. I'm like, bro, is it gone? He says, yeah, man, I sold it a couple weeks ago. You should have told me to save it for you. And I'm like, oh, so I get my stuff I want to get. I got a Doctor Who character, and I have to say I like Lucille. You know, I'm kind of morbid when that comes to that, you know. Preacher man that likes a baseball bat with barbed wire on it. Come on.
Come on.
Yeah, I'm a Mick Foley fan. What do you expect? But he goes in there. I get my stack, and I'm like waiting for Andy. I'm like, dude, where are you going? Mm-hmm. So he gets a book. He likes the Essentials, Marvel Essentials books. And he gets it, and he puts it on his arm. I'll be right back. He went to use the bathroom. This dude was so comfortable in this new store that he was first time in, and he uses the bathroom. I mean, it's that clean, and he likes clean stuff. So if you want a clean comic book store where a guy is knowledgeable about what you want, that has a subscription aisle,
subscription service,
mm-hmm. And he will hold on to your comics with you without taking a baseball bat and beat you up when you're there for 2 weeks. You got to go see this guy at Comic Adventure. They're located right across the street from Walmart off McLaughlin, and that address is 15705 Southeast McLaughlin Boulevard, located in Milwaukee, Oregon. And they do have a web address that will go straight to their Facebook page, which is, let me get that for you. I'm not seeing it right now, so I am lying to you. I am so sorry. Was on there. But hey, you want to find him, go to Facebook, facebook.com/Comic Adventures, Comic Adventure PDX.
Comics Adventure PDX. The owner's name is Bruce. He's an amazing guy. And this is a place where, I mean, you can go into and pop in and out, or hang out and talk for an hour or so. I mean, he's an amazingly knowledgeable guy. He's a good friend, and he's the type of guy that you want providing all your comic book needs. Support your local comic book stores, guys. Now, one of the things I do want to say about Comics Adventure is coming up. There is an event that he has there on March 26th. Super Dave, Detective Comics number 1000 is coming out. The 1000th issue of the original Batman comic book, number 1000.
I know, it's going to be legit. It's
going to be awesome. So he's opening up the store on Tuesday, March 26th. This is a way to celebrate that event, the 1000th issue of Detective Comics. He'll be opening up at 11:30 p.m. He'll stay open until 1 a.m. Show up. There are like 12 to 15 different covers on that particular comic book that you can buy. But come, hang out, have a good time. Detective Comics 1000, March 26th, 11:30 p.m. to 1 a.m. Even just stop by and grab the comic and go home and just say hi. Be there or be square, folks. It's going to be awesome.
And you're going to want to get a good parking spot there. So don't show up like 11:31 or, expecting like to get the best parking spot. You want to get there early to get a good parking spot. And again, they're located at 15705 Southeast McLaughlin Boulevard, Milwaukee, Oregon.
Awesome stuff. And so just to say that if there is no parking, you can park across the street at the Walmart and then come across the street. Just be careful coming across.
Just look both ways. Look when you cross the street, boys and girls.
Come on. So there we go. That's our sponsors, ladies and gentlemen. And we're going to go on to our segment. This is one of our weekly segments, one of our normal podcast segments. And that is the Countdown to Rose City Comic Con.
Oh, yeah.
Super Dave, we are now 192 days away from Rose City Comic Con. That's almost the halfway point of the year. And here we go. It's going to be on September 13th through the 16th, I think, is what it is.
Yes, sir.
And so, but we have a couple of announcements. There hasn't been too many things going on news-wise.
Not yet.
But it's heating up. Applications will be opening soon for tables, press, presenters, premieres, and all that good stuff. But there is a huge announcement that they just put on their Instagram and Facebook this week. Tickets go on sale March 19th, everybody.
Yeah. Hey, Bob, I got a question to ask you, bro.
What's that?
Do you got your tickets?
You know what? I got my tickets. You got yours?
I got my tickets.
Come on.
I got my tickets for all 3 days.
That's awesome stuff.
I'm going to take one day for buying souvenirs. Maybe my wife will let me start hanging some of my stuff up in the living room. I'll have to ask her permission, because, this is my fortress right here, and I don't got many spots on the wall anymore. So, and panels and get autographs and.
Absolutely, I can't wait. I'm going to Emerald City Comic Con in a couple weeks, and I know I'm going to be Kingpin. I don't know if I'm going to cosplay at Rose City this year, but I'm so excited for this Comic Con. Here's the really cool announcement, guys. If you go to Rose City Comic Con's Instagram page, there's a panel, or I shouldn't say a picture, that shows that tickets go on sale March 19th. Now, in that thread, they also are saying that they're going to announce their first celebrity guest. And right now, if you go to their Instagram page and you enter who you think that guest is going to be, and you guess right, you will be eligible to win 2 premiere passes to Rose City Comic Con.
I'm really hoping, and this is not, I'm not saying, this is not the rumors, and yeah, I heard on Fortress of Papatu that Super Dave says that he wants Aquaman to show up, and I'm really hoping, just because of all the hype around that movie, Aquaman, and maybe, the Black Panther, because that's an award-winning movie. I'm really excited about that. The reason I did the 3-day ticket thing is, I'm a big guy, and I'm going to pace myself this year.
Amen. I hear that. And there's a lot to do there. So, and there's nothing wrong with that. So, go on out to Instagram. Go look up Rose City Comic Con. Put in there who you think that first big guest announcement is. I put my guest on there.
Who was that?
I said Charlie Cox.
Okay.
And then as a secondary guest, I did say George Perez, even though that's not a celebrity. But George Perez did announce his retirement. He is touring Comic Cons. Love to see George Perez there, but my hope, Charlie Cox.
Exactly.
Get Daredevil there himself. And but Rose City Comic Con coming up. And Super Dave, I do have to apologize to you publicly at this particular point.
Uh-oh.
So when we bought our tickets, when we bought our passes for Rose City Comic Con, they are 3-day passes. And when I bought them, it said Fast Pass. And I assumed, because I read on the page, that they were all of the things you get in a Premier Pass, which is fast passing in the lines and things like that. They are just 3-day tickets. They're not Premier tickets. And I do have to apologize for that, but I asked the guys at Rose City what the difference was between Fast Pass and Premier, because it sounded the same to me, and they said, no, Fast Pass is just a name that we gave those tickets. There's really no difference between that and a 3-day pass. But we did get the early bird price. So
I can agree with that. $55 for 3 days. I'm sorry, folks. Eat your heart out. You should have been paying attention.
But go on and check out the news from it, and we will continue to count down the days until Rose City Comic Con, because it is the biggest comic book convention in the Portland area, and we love it.
I agree.
Come on. And so, Super Dave, what is our next piece of news?
Ladies and gentlemen, our next piece of news is Batman casting news.
Oh my gosh. Okay. This has been gone back and forth multiple times, and we know that it's been announced for sure that Ben Affleck's not coming back. That is confirmed now. He went on I forget which talk show. I think it was Jimmy Kimmel or one of the Today shows, but he definitely confirmed he's not coming back as Batman.
Yeah, his kids say he's too old.
That's not surprising. But then they also did mention some people that were in the running to be the new Batman. Now, we know Matt Reeves is going to be creating a different take than we've been seeing on the big screen with Batman. He's going to scale it down and go a more noir. My hope, I'm going to mirror what Kevin Smith said. My hope is Arkham Asylum, which would be amazing because they did say that they're going to cast multiple villains, and so that's my secret hope. But Matt Reeves did say that he's looking for a younger Batman, and there have been names that have been put out there, some of which are Armie Hammer, and one that I was very surprised to hear. And when I first heard it, I was like, no. But as I've been thinking about it and as I've been looking at it, I don't know if it would be a bad choice, and that's Robert Pattinson. From.
Now let's talk about that. If Batman is kind of like Superman, they got to have a good chin.
They got to have a good chin. This is
you
true.
know, I mean, they don't want no glass jaws. They don't want to get knocked out. But I mean, that's some good. That is some actually really good choices that is going to be on there.
Absolutely. Now, I'll just be honest with you. I'm not so excited to hear about Armie Hammer. I don't think that he brings, or that he would bring, a seriousness to the role that I would be comfortable with. But, I've been wrong before.
Yeah.
But that news didn't excite me. Robert Pattinson, on the other hand, some of the stuff that I've seen since he's done the Twilight movies, he's actually a really good actor.
Yes, he is.
And I think he could pull off that rich billionaire Bruce Wayne while at the same time giving Batman the gravitas that he needs. And so I think that would be an actual good choice. It's amazing that you said, he has to have a good chin. Zack Snyder, who, of course, was the director for Batman vs. Superman, The Man of Steel. He's the one that had the original vision for the Justice League. When they did finally announce that Ben Affleck wasn't going to be Batman anymore, I think he tweeted just this last week that he thanked Ben Affleck for the gorgeous chin that he has and for him being one of the best Batmans that ever, in his opinion, one of the best Batmans ever. And so, yes, you do have to have a good chin.
But that's very debatable because I've heard also Lego Batman's higher on the level than Ben Affleck. Sorry, Ben.
I love that Lego Batman movie.
I do too.
It's so much fun. So much fun. But the thing about the casting news with this, who's going to be Batman, it's going to go back and forth because at this particular point, most of what we hear is not confirmed. It comes out to be rumors. You hear, this is the choice, then it's not the choice. And right now, really, we don't have any clear choice as to who's going to be Batman. But here's the deal, folks. From what I understand, you can go to Las Vegas right now and put money down on who you think will be the next Batman. They're actually taking bets on it, Super Dave.
Well, Batman's an iconic character, so what do you expect?
It blew me away. Yeah. But yeah, so who do you want to see?
I want to see Robert be the Batman.
You want to see Robert Pattinson?
I want to see that. I mean, again, my Christian Bale was my favorite, Batman Returns. That was my favorite Batman because it reminds me of a little bit of the darkness of Gotham. That the TV shows, which this last season has been phenomenal. Yeah. I don't know if you've seen or you're caught up on it.
I am. It's gotten a lot better.
It has, and it makes me want to say, are you seriously gonna stop the show right now, or are you gonna make it go, fast forward a few years? It actually reminded me a little bit of the feel of like CW. With the Flash this season, like there could be some crossovers with it. Just the way they're writing, how it's the picturing, the videography of it. I mean, I'm gonna tell you, I'm enjoying it. My wife wants to come sit and watch it with me and Andy, and every time she sits down, it's probably the most gruesome scene they could ever have, and she's like, I can't believe you're making me watch this. I mean, and then she walks out of the room and I hear about it for a couple of days, but it's all good because
Well, and having said that, Super Dave, I just want to give a big shout out to the wives. We have some amazing wives.
Oh, we do.
I mean, they definitely put up with a lot of our stuff. They love actually now coming and watching the stuff that we watch, and I think that's great. My wife has actually gotten to the point now where she can cut it up with me news-wise, and I think it's great. We all ended up going to a movie together and seeing a superhero movie, and I just, besides the fact that they're gorgeous and we love them, pop culture is in our DNA.
It is. I mean, but you know, it's coming out here in a couple of days, right? I did talk about that now, or
What's that?
Miss Marvel?
Oh.
I mean,
yes. You know, I don't know if that's in our news day, but we can say that. I mean, we do have Captain Marvel coming out.
Now, are you watching that Thursday, or are you going to go see that Friday?
I am going on Thursday. I always try to buy tickets the Thursday it comes out, when tickets go on pre-sales. Because number one, I like the good seats, the ones with the recliners. I don't go to those old janky seats anymore. Yeah. And I also want to go immediately after work, because I don't want nobody spoiling anything for me when it comes to an MCU movie.
I pretty much shut down anything that talks about the show until I get a chance to see it on YouTube, because there's spoilers all out. But this is supposed to be an epic movie to bring us to our next chapter.
Absolutely, and that next chapter is only like a month and a couple weeks far beyond that.
Yeah, we
get Captain Marvel this next week, and Super Dave. It's only like 6 more weeks until Endgame.
Yeah,
and that's going to be amazing. I can't wait.
I mean, we're going to talk about that here in a little bit, but there's a couple other shows coming out there. Our news out there is like Will Smith and Margaret Robbie. Mm-hmm. You know, in or out of Suicide Squad too.
So yeah, this is one of those things where, you know, in the latest slate of Warner Brother movies, one of the things that I think is happening is that they're allowing news to just flow out, if it's unconfirmed or not, because I think they're really playing on how much the fans grab a hold of every little piece of information. So I think they like the disparity of people, you know, grabbing a hold of stuff and running with it and then coming back and saying, no, it's not that. So this is no different. Birds of Prey 2 is coming out. We know that James Gunn is going to be directing it.
Is that the guy from like
Guardians of the Galaxy?
Okay, cool.
I mean, he's the guy.
I thought you were talking about the guy from America's Top Model, because his name is James Gunn too.
No, not that guy.
Oh, okay. It's another James Gunn.
Yeah, but James Gunn, who Marvel fired because of some tweets that happened, you know, long ago. Of course, there was a lot of the Guardians of the Galaxy cast who were very upset about it. So Marvel fired him. And Warner Brothers picked him up, and the first thing that they asked him to do was to direct the new Suicide Squad 2. And so we know that he's written a script. We know that he's directing it. But what we don't know is whether or not Margot Robbie will reprise her role as Harley Quinn, and whether or not Will Smith will reprise his role as Deadshot. And so here's the deal. One day we hear Margot Robbie is going to reprise her role. Then we hear that's not going to happen. Then we hear rumors abound. And so one of the things that we know for sure at this particular point is that Will Smith will not come back as Deadshot.
And why is that?
You know, he has not said. I think, from what I understand, it was a confirmed report that he is not going to reprise the role, and that's coming out of Warner Brothers.
Now, I have to really lets me down with the movie, especially if Margaret's not going to be in the movie as well.
We'll talk about that too.
I have to say, Will Smith was in Harley Quinn. Deadshot and Harley Quinn, they made the movie.
They did. They really did.
Will Smith did a phenomenal job as Deadshot.
He did.
I mean, he brought the cool, he brought the street, he brought the gangsta part of it, but he stayed in and he kept character. He didn't do any of his comedy in it. He had some funny shots in it, but he stayed true to the character.
Absolutely. And then, you know, he also brought, you know, some heart to the character. I've never thought of, you know, Deadshot in the way that I thought about that character, you know, having to, you know, go to jail and be away from his daughter, and that's a driving force in his life. I mean, that was very well played by Will Smith. So I am sorry to see him go. Now let's talk about Margot Robbie. Now, Margot Robbie, we know, is going to be in the new Birds of Prey, right? I mean, we just saw a new trailer, not really a trailer, but a tease of some of the costumes. And beyond that, it's basically saying we'll see you soon, which is all great. But now the news, from what I understand, is that it's confirmed she will appear in the Suicide Squad 2. That doesn't mean that she's starring in. That's a different verbiage, right? Yeah. So I have a feeling we're going to get maybe a scene or a cameo. Maybe something with her and Amanda Waller, her telling her, no, I don't want to do this. Or Amanda Waller saying, no way, I don't want her back. Or something like that. We don't know.
She did a phenomenal job at Harley Quinn.
She was amazing. She was amazing.
That's one of the downsides of Gotham, the TV show, is their Harley Quinn was not as good. It let me down a little bit. You know, the way she portrayed herself, and even in Suicide Squad, Suicide Squad 1, there was that storyline with that movie, bro. There was a storyline wrapped around that character that had the origin behind it and why she thinks the way she thinks, and even give us a little bit of that Joker too. Yeah. I mean, that right there.
Whether or not you like Jared Leto's Joker or not, the story between him and Harley was an integral part of her driving force, right? Yeah. And so, great stuff.
I liked him as a Joker. I'm not gonna lie.
I had my problems with it, but I don't think we got to see him fully do what he...
No, he was in bits and pieces.
Exactly.
There are so many things that Joker had. I was watching a documentary after Suicide Squad, because my buddy Andy had it, and there were so many cut scenes from the movie that Joker was in it, but the movie would have been so long that they had to cut him.
Well, I think it was a bad idea to try to put him in the movie in the first place, because how do you make a movie with a character like the Joker and have him not take over? Right, so you either have to put him in as a cameo, or cameo-esque, like they did inside of this movie. But the second you start delving into that, that storyline takes over.
Exactly.
And that was the problem with Suicide Squad. You had 3 different stories going on, and they made a huge mistake by going not cosmic, but mystic with all with the magic stuff. And it just didn't work. They needed to keep it more street level. But anyway, bottom line is that Margot Robbie did an amazing job as Harley Quinn. Nobody, disputes that. And hey, it looks like we are going to get something of her in the Suicide Squad 2, and we're definitely going to see her in Birds of Prey. The thing I don't like is there's so many different projects that they want to attach her to. There's also they from what I understand, there was a Harley Quinn and Joker movie that they were going to do. From what I understand, that's been scrapped now.
Exactly, yeah.
And so they have so many projects that they could attach her to. I wish they'd just settle on what they're doing now and work on other projects as they come up, and we'll deal with other stuff later.
Yeah. Come on, boss.
Come on. And that brings us to our next weekly segment, or I say weekly, we're not a weekly show. But one of our podcast segments that we like to do, which is our Fortress figure. And today, Super Dave is going to bring our Fortress figure for this episode. Super Dave, who do we have as the Fortress figure this week?
We have MODOK.
MODOK!
Now, I alluded to this, when I first saw him in comics, even in the Marvel cartoon series, when they brought them all together and they were fighting. And I thought, why do they have a floating garbage can? Until I found out the character and what they were trying to do with him. MODOK, which is acronym for Mobile Organism Designed Only for Killing. This is an iconic character in Marvel's villains, and MODOK is a former employee of the Advanced Idea of Mechanics. Now, AIM is kind of like more towards Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. based stuff. We haven't seen MODOK in that series at all, but AIM was one of the bad guys. There was Hydra, then AIM, and then some other ones. So the arms dealing organization specialized in futuristic weaponry. I probably said that word wrong, but hey, we're on the internet live. Who undergoes substantial
mutagenic
medical experimentation. Originally designed to increase his intelligence, while successful, this experimentation resulted in freakishly overdeveloped head, causing the character's signature look to and use of a flying chair for mobility. After the experiments, he rebels against his masters and takes control of AIM. debuting in Tales of Suspense number 93 in 1967 as a part of Captain America's Rogue Gallery. MODOK has appeared in over 4 decades of Marvel comics continually.
Absolutely. So, Super Dave, what was the first time that you remember seeing MODOK?
Oh, it would have had to been, not in comics. I would have to say in the Avenger.
And the animated series stuff?
Avenger animated series, because that's where they really got his character good, because that's the artist who drew him. Did a fantastic job. That's where, when he was going after Captain America.
Yeah.
That's where I first saw him, and I'm like, it was awesome. The way they did his voice, there's something about doing a good voiceover on a cartoon that makes the character like, ooh, I gotta see what happens next.
Absolutely. And for myself, being a longtime comic book reader, I remember when I was a kid, some of the first Captain America comic books that I had, or that I even was interested in picking up, was the first time I saw MODOK on a cover, because I thought he would just look so insanely bizarre, kind of freakish. And, he appeared in multiple comics. I saw him go up against Captain America. He went up against the Avengers. I saw him go up and hold his own against Hulk a few times. And he's just one of those characters that anytime he appears, I get excited about. I don't know why.
And then they're going to have a whole TV series about him on Hulu?
I know.
What's going to go on there?
That amazes me. You know what? If this is, like I said, I don't know what happened that pulled us into this particular timeline, but I never thought in a million years that we'd be at this particular point in history where this type of stuff is happening. Like I said, it's one thing for Batman, Wonder Woman, and Spider-Man and some of the major characters from comic books to be on screen. But when we're getting so much content that we actually get a whole show for MODOK, we have an amazing time, my friend.
Yes, we do.
Absolutely love it. What's our next piece of news, Super Dave?
Oh, Avengers Endgame 3 with 3 hours glorious long.
Yes, it will be 3 glorious hours long. They've talked about whether or not... So first of all, this is confirmed. The Russo brothers have said that it is going to be 3 hours long. So no, hemming and hawing and, getting a separate cut. I know we could have had a 3-hour cut of Infinity War. But they went 2 hours and 35 minutes. And, as far as I'm concerned, give me a 4-hour movie. I'll sit there the whole time. I will hold it.
Dude, I will be smuggling. My pockets will be full, and I'll be smuggling stuff in because, we might even have to, get a porta potty and stuff like that and smuggle it in there in a backpack.
And that's the thing that they're talking about there, because it is going to be 3 hours. They had mentioned the possibility of having an intermission. Now that's something that that used to be pretty predominant in movies, especially longer movies. When I was a kid, I went to see Lawrence of Arabia, and I remember there was an intermission in that. And
a Lawrence of what?
Lawrence of Arabia, man.
Oh, I never heard of that one. Sorry, I'm dating myself right there.
It's all right. But it was a long, epic movie, and there was an intermission. And to me, don't put an intermission inside of this.
I went to a play a couple years ago with Andy because it was part of his school assignments. And I thought, okay, we're going to get through it. The movie's done. And then, excuse me, folks, we're going to have our intermission. I don't know. I would be going like this and back and forth during intermission. How can you stop the action right there?
Exactly.
I think for movies in our if kids can sit down and watch 5 hours of TV or play 5 hours of video games, or parents can sit there on YouTube and looking on all these gnarly things on YouTube or watch these things over and over and over again and playing video games, people can sit through 3 hours and watch a movie, especially if they want to go out there and be a diehard nerd. And if you got to go potty during the movie, go potty during the movie. But don't make me have an intermission, an end game. I want to sit there and I want to see the story come to this ending that begins a new chapter in Marvel with Captain Marvel and everybody else that's going to be there. I want to see that. Absolutely. I don't want to stop in the middle and like, okay, here we go.
Well, I mean, the history of, having intermissions. One of the things that I didn't like, when I was growing up is that any movie that I saw with an intermission, they tried to, put this big crescendo that would happen just before the intermission so that you wouldn't leave the theater, right?
Yeah.
There's something huge that's going to happen so that you come back to your seat ready for the rest of the movie. And the rest of the movie never lived up to the big thing that happened. Yeah. And so, and then there's the whole thing, you're exactly right. You ruin the momentum when look, if inside of Infinity War, if I thought the perfect place for an intermission, if they would have done it, was when Thanos throws Gamora off of the edge to get the Soul Stone. Right?
They could have done that.
They could have put an intermission right there, right? But you know what? I'm so glad they didn't, because I didn't want the movie to end. It was so amazing.
That was a sad scene.
It was. But 3 hours long. We're getting a 3 hour long end game.
Booyah, baby!
Can't wait. So awesome stuff. Now, Super Dave, this next piece of news is in your wheelhouse. I know it is. I know that you're getting excited about it. So here's the piece of news that dropped. Henry Cavill, rumored, now we're still talking rumors, to be in talks to extend his contract with Warner Brothers. Now, there's many rumors that abound here, right? So we have to start to break this down so we get down to fact. But it is true that Henry Cavill is holding out because he wants... is it true that he's holding out because he wants script consideration and producing rights? Is it true that there's already a cameo in Shazam that may or may not be?
There's actually photos out there of that already been leaked because DC is so hurting right now to get people to watch their movies.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't say they're hurting now. I mean, you remember Ghostbusters? When
what do you expect? Who are you gonna call?
Do you remember the first call they got? And she yells out, "We got one!"
Yeah.
Right? Well, they got Aquaman.
They did. Aquaman was a good thing. I mean, I want to say this. It's been a long time since we've had a good Superman. I'm talking about Christopher Reeve was our last really good Superman.
The Dick Donner Superman is the gold standard for all superhero movies. Yeah. Right? I mean, what that movie did, I mean, even Kevin Feige has said to, about Warner Brothers, what would you do differently at Warner Brothers? He said, I would go back and look at Dick Donner's Superman and have them, use that as the basis to make a super movie. I mean, that was the standard for making, and not just for superhero movies, but for Superman.
Yeah. I mean, Henry needs to stay there.
Yes, he does. I mean, I love Henry Cavill. I don't like particularly the way he was portrayed as Superman. I don't think we got the best Superman out of him, but we all know the potential.
Yes.
Absolutely.
He's a great actor all around. I mean,
I love him.
Very versatile. I'm just really excited. I mean, yeah, Ben's retiring from Batman, but there could be so much life in Henry. You take Henry and Aquaman and Wonder Woman, and get a new Batman that's really in the Flash character. I mean, you get those guys going in there really good. You could have a really good, another, Justice League movie. I mean, it just right now it's basically, DC, what's going on?
Yeah, well, I mean, Warner Brothers has said that they're not interested in making movies where that's, all the content is being connected. Just like Aquaman is, if you really look at it, it's not really connected to the Justice League movie at all. Not. And so it's a standalone movie. The Birds of Prey movie coming out is going to be a standalone movie. Hey, Joker, That's not going to be connected to any Batman movie. That's a standalone movie.
Yep.
And so they're more interested now in just making good movies, which I think is a smart move. As far as Henry Cavill goes, I think that they know everybody wants to see Man of Steel 2. They know that everybody wants Henry Cavill. I really hope that they get to taking care of this whole contract thing. So, yes, there is a scene that has been filmed as far as a cameo for Shazam. But the issue is we may not see Henry Cavill's face.
Yeah.
We may see the scene with maybe a shoulder or the cape or but not actually see Henry Cavill. Is from what I understand, if the contract doesn't get negotiated correctly, then we'll just see a piece of him and not.
Yeah, I gotta say, whatever way it goes, I also liked in the Shazam the cameo of Batman's bullets, the bullets,
the Batarang,
and the bullets. I don't know if you've seen that in there.
I didn't see that.
I believe the bullets are from Superman.
Okay.
It was a fast preview and stuff like that. I think that's awesome. I'm still not sold on Shazam, the character who's playing Shazam. I had to learn some
Zachary
more.
Levi.
But if Black Adam is gonna be my brother from another mother, the Uso from other Usos, The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, come on now, that guy is gold.
Absolutely, he would be amazing in that role. He wants to do it. I truly think that that's one thing that they've been keeping hush hush. I think we're gonna get a end credit scene fleshing out Black Adam. I really do.
Could you imagine The Rock as Black Adam versus Aquaman, whatever his name, I forgot his name. Jason Momoa going 1-on-1.
That would be awesome.
I'm getting goosebumps. My man.
Awesome.
You know what The Rock's smelling? It doesn't matter what it's smelling.
So, a little preview to the next episode that we do. But there was a piece of wrestling news that was dropped today. Did you hear about this one?
I haven't heard it yet.
All right. Batista, right? Drax the Destroyer has decided to go back to wrestling.
Okay, so now, I gotta get on this. Can I speak on this?
Okay, go for it.
Okay, as Rey Mysterio will say, "Olale 619." Okay, so last week on Raw, this is we're pop culture, so we can share what's going on in the world and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
So, Ric Flair, 2 claps and Ric Flair, everybody.
Oh.
Woo! Okay, so. It was his 70th birthday over last week.
That's right. It was Ric Flair's 70th birthday.
And Ric Flair is a man in wrestling that, he's had his struggles. I mean, if you watch the 20 over 20 ESPN documentary they did on him, I encourage it. It talks about how his daughter and his kids saying, his daughter is a predominant wrestler on Raw and SmackDown, Charlotte Flair. Said, "I'm going to disown you. I am done if you don't get your life straight." So he had all these parties, and there's pictures leaked. Chris Jericho is a part of a whole new wrestling organization called AEW, which I think is the wave of wrestling. I think because they're bringing young upcomers up. But in that Monday Night Raw showed, and everybody was saying that Batista was going to AEW, and it was his birthday. And Ric Flair was there, and Ric Flair was supposed to come up. And all of a sudden, you see Batista.
Really?
Drax the Destroyer kick in Ric Flair's door.
What?
And with the camera. Pulling him out there. And I don't know if it was Ric Flair or Ric Flair was letting him drag him. Now, Ric Flair is a huge mentor of Batista. I don't know if you knew that.
I did not know that.
Triple H, Randy Orton. He mentored them in their younger years, and Triple H wasn't that young, but he mentored them. They were a part of the faction called Evolution. So, in that, Flair pulls him out because when it was another celebration earlier this year, Batista threw out the gauntlet to Triple H. And so, Batista is probably on his final run in wrestling right now. This is a guy that left wrestling because he wanted to be an actor, an MMA fighter.
He's had an amazing film career.
He has, and he's learned from the best of them. Now you'll see on and I'm not trying to spoil stuff for you. He's a really good friend of The Rock. You'll see the trash talk he talked on Twitter about The Rock and his stuff earlier this week. But in the end of the day, you know, he has a storybook career, and Triple H is probably going to win because he's the boss's son-in-law. I'm not a big Triple H fan. I got 2 words for you: retire. 1 word actually. Okay. But Triple H, you know, as a wrestler, I wasn't a big fan of, but as the mentor, he's mentored a lot of younger talent.
Sure.
So I'm really excited, even if the thought of the match to end Batista's career in wrestling, to come back on top. He wants to play a heel. He doesn't want to be a good guy. He doesn't want to be everybody's best buddy. He wants to dominate.
He was always better as a bad guy, I think.
Yeah.
So Super Dave with the wrestling news.
Yeah,
Pretty awesome.
You want
stuff.
some other news? I got stuff storing. The Young Bucks, Cody Rhodes, the son of the American Dream, son of a plumber, Dusty Rhodes.
Dusty Rhodes.
His son Cody Rhodes, along with the Young Bucks, are doing their own wrestling organization with the Jacksonville. Is that right? Jacksonville. The clan, the Kongs family. They starting a wrestling company.
Sweet.
Multi-million-dollar family who owns this football league, or the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Jaguars.
You know, are starting a wrestling company. And I know I'm getting a little excited about this. I was at CD Game Exchange in Portland the other day, and Andy wanted to go get some movie posters, and all he found was a CD that he liked and stuff because he didn't have the song and he couldn't download it on iTunes. And I'm walking back there, and I'm looking. I'm like, that's a really cool Iron Man. And I look up, 3 iconic characters: Popeye the Sailor Man, who sits in my church office, because that was my favorite cartoon. You know, Popeye the Sailor Man, eat me some spinach. That's my dad tried to tell me every time he wanted me to eat spinach when I was younger, because I get muscles, but it didn't happen. Kind of like, you know, a little bit heartbroken by that, but hey, who knows? But the Young Bucks and Cody Rhodes, New Japan, Fuku Pops. You can't really find those in America that much because New Japan's so big in wrestling in Japan. You know, I'm just really excited about that. I've been following their stuff for a while now. Younger talent, new wave, give some WWE some competition that's not TNA, which is Impact Wrestling now.
Well, I definitely appreciate your love for wrestling, and if there's definitely one thing we're going to be doing more inside of the Fortress of Papatu, is we'll be having more wrestling news. Oh yeah! Now, that's a blast from my past. But yeah, I mean, that's something that we definitely love, and we definitely want to incorporate more of that. We're all pop culture, so pretty awesome stuff. And so here's the surprise piece of news, and one of the things that I really have been dying to get to, because this is my favorite thing in the last couple of weeks. You were talking about it earlier. I said, hush, hush, hush. We'll talk about it later in the show. And that is that Netflix, I mean, surprised the heck out of me. I didn't even know this was in development. That's how bad I was on this particular piece of news. But they dropped a full season of their new show, Umbrella Academy.
Oh, my word. Even my wife sat through the whole series. I couldn't watch it.
So you finished it?
I did finish it. That's why I wanted to talk about it. I knew I know, 2 claps and a Ric Flair. Woo! I can't do it as much as he can. Years of doing that. I have to say, I finished watching it, and I watch a lot of superhero shows. I mean, Netflix has done a lot of shows. I loved how they ended the show.
It was amazing.
The season of that. I was like waiting for some more. I'm like.
So just to preface really quick, this particular piece of our segment, we're doing non-spoiler review. Non-spoilers. I know. We're just going to talk about how good it is, what we liked about it. Yes, we will. Okay. Next time, we will have a full spoiler review of Umbrella Academy. Let's talk about what you liked about it at this particular point.
So it was really slow for me to begin with.
Really?
I didn't connect with some of the characters. I can't talk about the characters in the movie because you're gonna have to see the show. You're gonna have to see it.
Sure. But now, were you ever familiar with the comic book before you saw it?
I was not.
Okay. So that may have been why you weren't connecting with some of the characters.
Yeah. So I mean, but the storyline about it, and then the twist in the middle of it, because I've never read the comic book, but it's like a non-spoiler movie for me. Oh my word! Talk about. I'm gonna say this. You can write us in if I say a bad word. And YouTube, I'm sorry, I don't think this is a really bad word. That movie was badass.
It was. It really was.
I mean, the characters in the movie were badass.
Absolutely.
I mean, after they got done with all, I want to call, okay, I'm going to say this. Well, after they got through their adult superhero puberty, they all, I mean, come on now. You know.
It was amazing stuff. You know, when it dropped, I immediately got excited because, you know, I never read the whole story all the way through, but it was just the most bizarre comic book done by Dark Horse, you know, right here locally, our local comic book content.
Exactly.
But I mean, it was a crazy comic book. It really was, and they nailed the craziness, but also the tone in this and the pacing was so incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, if you have not seen the show yet, I dare you. Just watch the first 20 minutes. If you can stop watching at this point, then you shouldn't be watching this podcast because you're not a pop culture fan. I'll guarantee you that.
That's right.
From that point on, 20 minutes in, I was so hooked and I couldn't stop watching. That weekend, I had weekend duty from work. Watched all 10 episodes Saturday and Sunday, and loved every minute of it. My wife sat down next to me and we were just glued. Love this show.
It was a really good show. Like I said, my wife watched it with me, and you know, it's like, oh my word, this is awesome. I mean, I could not go ahead. We could have stopped it sometimes because we had things happening, and I couldn't go ahead and watch farther on it because I would have been in the doghouse. You know.
But I mean, there are a lot of characters in the show that are really done really well. There's an actor. Have you seen Mortal Engines yet?
No, I have not.
So there's one of the main characters in Mortal Engines is this actor Robert. I think it's Robert Sheridan. I'm not quite sure what his name is. I think it's Robert Sheridan. Anyway, he's the guy that plays Klaus inside of
Klaus. I love that guy.
I tell you,
I had a hard time with him to begin with.
By the time I got to the 4th episode, I was convinced this is the next Joker.
Yeah.
I mean, you put some white face and green hair on that guy, and he is...
And shave his face.
Yeah, exactly. He's the clown prince of crime right now. I hope that if they go with a younger version of Batman, they think about a young Joker, this guy would be able to take care of it.
Exactly.
Amazing. His performance, not just in those first 4 episodes, but throughout it, was just absolutely amazing.
And we can't talk more about it because...
We won't.
I'm not going to spoil it for you. I did finish Punisher. I mean, our last issue, we talked about the Punisher.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
I did a gentleman's handshake with my friend Andy and said I'm not going to watch ahead of it. Well, when it came to this Umbrella Academy, I didn't do a handshake with that because it took too long.
Yeah.
But even that's a whole other issue we're going to have to do.
Right.
We're going to have an issue just for the Punisher because...
Maybe that's what we'll do next episode. We'll just do our reviews, our spoiler reviews about the Punisher and Umbrella Academy because there's so much to talk about in each one of those. I think that'd be a great next episode. What do you think, Super Dave?
I think that'd be a great one.
Awesome.
So I'm going to say this really quick because it's in our notes. Marvel has confirmed Phase 4.
Yes, that's right. They have confirmed.
Well, this is important.
Phase 4 movies. Now, from what I understand, we're going to get a full announcement of the slate once it comes to San Diego Comic-Con. But ones that we know for sure are going to be coming in Phase 4. Super Dave, what do you have there?
We have Spider-Man Far From Home. That's already been with trailers. You've seen that.
Yeah, we know that's coming up.
Black Panther, Black Panther 2, Doctor Strange 2,
Woo!
Guardians of the Galaxy 3,
Yes.
The Eternals,
And Shang-Chi Kung Fu Master.
and The Black Widow. I've seen some previews for that.
Yeah, actually, that's one another piece of news that dropped this week. It's definitely not going to be even considered for rated R, which I was glad. It will be PG-13. I don't think we need a rated R version after all that we've seen of Scarlett Johansson so far.
Yeah.
So very happy about that. And then we also have rumored for Phase 4. We have Ant-Man and the Wasp 3 as a possibility. They're really thinking about, I know it's been talked about, a Nova movie.
Yeah.
Now, if you remember Guardians of the Galaxy 2, we had the patrols from Xandar. That's kind of fleshing out the Nova Corps. And so the character Nova, it's kind of that's kind of like Marvel's Green Lantern. Mm-hmm. And so they've talked about him. And then already they're talking about Captain Marvel 2.
Yep.
And then you do know, Super Dave, that just a few short days away, March 15th actually, that the ink will be dry on the merger.
And it makes me so happy. I mean,
so what does that mean? What does that mean?
Daredevil is great. I have to say I like. There's some parts that are crude in Daredevil, but I like Daredevil. I think they did a good job on it. X-Men, they've had too many universes for that. But I'm really excited, bro. I have to say, there's still rumors online, and then Hugh Jackman has not announced it or anything like that, that there's some kind of X-Men crossover in Endgames. There are some rumors about that. I wouldn't be surprised if they're all a lie, but that would be so exciting, bro.
Absolutely. Here's what I'm looking for. So we know that the ink is dry on, I think, March 15th to March 16th. At that particular point, Marvel can go ahead and start planning for, Fantastic Four and X-Men movies. Mm-hmm. Here's the deal. If we hear about another reshoot happening for Avengers Endgame, I'm going to call it right now that they are shooting an end credit scene that's going to pull in either the Fantastic Four or the X-Men into the universe.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking for. Just give me a little bit of news that a reshoot's happening.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you that's what
you really, and honestly, because of Hollywood and contracts and stuff like that, we think it's the 15th and 16th. But they could actually be slapping us in the face saying, I got you.
It's good. It is possible. I mean, we don't know what the terms of the contract were. Mm-hmm. We just know that there's nothing officially announced at this particular point. But it's so much fun talking about it.
Yes. So Bullseye Bob, what are you currently reading in the comic book land right now?
Awesome. So this is our last segment of the show, the Spinner Rack. This last week, Daredevil 2 came out of the new run, Volume 6 of Daredevil. And it's being written by Chip Zdarsky. I love his writing. Pencils by Michael Cicchetto, I think that's how you say his name. I love the new costume. It definitely looks more leather. It's got some seaming on it that looks really cool. And I am already starting to enjoy the new take that Chip Zdarsky is giving to Matt Murdock. I think the writing is really fleshed out really nice. And I'm kind of excited about where they're going to take that book. But I'll tell you what. One of the things I did pick up this last week was some reprints. I have the original prints. I have the first prints, but I also picked up some reprints, second printing and third printings of The Immortal Hulk, which is probably my favorite book out right now. Mm-hmm. That story is so amazing. If you don't know about it, if you have been a long-time Hulk reader and don't know what Immortal Hulk is about, in the Avengers, there was a storyline where basically Bruce Banner gets killed. Mm-hmm. And he is taken by surprise. You remember inside of the movie where he says, I tried to put a gun in my mouth and pulled the trigger, and the other guy spit out the bullet, right? Mm-hmm. And so we know the Hulk has been there to save Banner on many occasions, but in this particular case, he wasn't. Banner dies. Mm-hmm. And while his body is in the morgue, it starts to transform, and here's the Hulk. And we find out Banner can die, but Hulk can't. He's immortal.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where, and it's not like a series. It's more like an anthology. Every story's different. It's creepy. It's got this horror feel to it. And it is so much fun. Can't wait for the next issue to come out. And then the other thing that came out this last week that I've just been loving is this Heroes in Crisis. Mm-hmm. Great DC book dealing with I'm still not sure if this is canon or if it's an alternate universe, but a bunch of heroes get killed, and they're trying to figure out how and why, and the reactions to those deaths. It's an amazing story.
Cool.
What are you reading, Super Dave?
Well, as you're talking about Daredevil, I'm actually, like I said, it's been a few days since I've been at the comic book store, a couple weeks. maybe 2.5 weeks, and I had a stack. Now, in my subscription, I have Superman, of course, because I want all the new ones. I have Walking Dead, but I have Daredevil. So I decided today, since I have one, I don't have two, I'm going to start reading Daredevil from the issue 1.
Come on!
To the end of the issue, because I have the last one. I have the first one, I have the Alpha, and I have the Omega.
Sweet.
But I have that in my heart as well. Come on. But I'm deciding I'm just gonna sit down and read them. I have them there. I'm gonna probably tonight sit back and go through a comic book. Sit on my man chair and read it. That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna go through them and read Daredevil. And just see what goes on. And I'm pretty excited about it. Tomorrow night, me and Andy are gonna go through my comic books. If you guys don't know this, I am a collector of all things Superman. I was even looking at some. I forgot what you call it. Superman comics that are in the case.
Oh, okay.
I was looking at some of those at the comic book store today because it's what I like. I mean, Superman is going to always be my favorite character, even before people called me Super Dave. So, but we're going to go through the comic books, and I'm paying Andy to go through my comic books and type them out on my laptop. So when I go to the comic book store, I can go, oh, I have that one. It's going to be awesome.
So now that you've said that, Super Dave, in this last week, I've actually got a new app. It's not new. It's probably not new, but it was new to me. It's called CLZ Comics.
Really?
And the cool thing about this app is that you can take and it's got a barcode reader. So if you have a barcode on your comic book, it'll automatically scan it, and it'll scan it into what is your current collection. And so you can basically enter everything that you currently have in your collection, and then everything that you want to put on a wish list for things that you're looking for. And so if ever I go to the comic book store now, I just pull it up. I can see every single issue that I have, everything that's on my wish list or want list, and that way I'm not duplicating anything, and it's all right there on my phone.
Okay, so what's that app called again?
It's called CLZ Comics.
CLZ Comics.
Great app. That's definitely another good app is this one called Key Collector. That will basically highlight all of the key issues in comics. So if you want to look at Daredevil, it'll tell you all of the key issues in Daredevil. First appearances, great storylines, the ones that are the most important. Those are considered key issues. And he does it for this particular app, shows you the key issues for every single comic book and trope out there. And this is a great way for you to, if you're going to be investing in comic books, for you to see which are the most important books.
Wow.
Good stuff. So, Super Dave.
Hey, what's that?
This has been an amazing show.
It has. I mean, normal podcast is probably about between 35 and 45 minutes. But I just love doing podcasts with you because we can talk about the
stuff we love.
The stuff we love. This is what we care about. This is what gives us joy.
It has
besides other things that give us joy, but being our wives and Jesus.
Come on.
I'm not afraid to say that I love Jesus with all my heart. But
as do I.
An hour and 17 minutes we've talked.
Are you serious?
Hour and 17 minutes. Now there's going to be some editing from it, of course. But in an hour and 17 minutes, we got to talk about a lot of topics.
We did.
And this is the end of issue number 3.
Come on.
So when we have issue number 3, that means issue number 4 is on the way.
That's exactly right.
So I want to say thank you so much for watching out. Visit our sponsors, The Nerd Out and Comic Adventures. If you want information, make sure you comment in the comments below. We are going to be doing some audio versions of this on SoundCloud and iTunes in the coming weeks. We will have a Facebook page up and running in a couple weeks as well for Bullseye Bob and Super Dave with the Fortress of Popitude.
Coming at you. And thank you very much for watching the show. And in the words of Stanley, Excelsior, everybody. And in the words of John Schnepp, stay sweaty.
And in the words of Ric Flair, since we talked about it, 2 claps and a Ric Flair.
Stop talking about comic books or I'll kill you. I don't care if the Hulk could defeat the man.